The following is a paid advertisement. Really? A paid advertisement? Wait, the B-Movie Cast got paid? Yes, the following is a paid advertisement. This episode of the B-Movie Cast is brought to you by the estate planning services of Twyla Minear Brooks, attorney at law. Remember, when the zombie apocalypse comes, things will move pretty fast.
The body should be disposed of at once, preferably by cremation.
Well, how long after death, then, does the body become reactivated?
It's only a matter of minutes.
Minutes? Well, that doesn't give people time to make any arrangements.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't give them time to make funeral arrangements. The bodies must be carried to the street and burned. They must be burned immediately. Soak them with gasoline and burn them. The bereaved will have to forego the dubious comforts that a funeral service will give. They're just dead flesh and dangerous.
So don't leave your estate planning needs until the last minute, because you don't know when that last minute could come. Call Twyla Minear Brooks, attorney at law, at 859-351-2294. That's 859-351-2294. Remember, when you go, you don't want people saying,
"Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up."
Twyla Minear Brooks, attorney at law, is licensed for practice in the state of Kentucky. Consult your local attorney for matters outside of the state of Kentucky.
Command mark. The time will be running at X minus 20 seconds. Mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire.
Spawned by the continuing decline and fall of society as we know it, and created on the second-floor spare-bedroom studio in the Piedmont of South Carolina. Podcasting on a shoestring budget and changing the world one freak at a time. It's the B-Movie Cast with your host, Vince Rotolo.
From coast to coast and worldwide via the internet, this is the B-Movie Cast, the podcast of unusual film and television.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the B-Movie Clubhouse for episode 510 of the B-Movie Cast, and today's film is a Matt Kowalski pick. Before I go any farther, I want to get our contact information out of the way. We love hearing from all of you, so we have a feedback segment devoted to your comments and suggestions, and this is how you can contact us. Option 1, pick up your phone and dial 888-936-0808. This is a toll-free number and a very easy way to leave a voice message. Option 2, you can make your own MP3 file and send it in to bmoviecast@gmail.com. Or use your smartphone voice software and record a call, then just send that in as an attachment instead. Or option 3, if you're not into talking, you can just shoot us an email to bmoviecast@gmail.com. Our website is bmoviecast.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast. It's free, and there you can join us on the Facebook B-Moviecast fan page and letterbox. Also, you can play the contest by sending in your answer by email to bmoviecast@gmail.com with contest in the subject line. And check out the links while you're there, or buy a t-shirt. I currently have smalls to 4Xs. If you want to help us financially, there's a donation box you can click on as a supporter on the Lugosi, Karloff, Agar, and the infamous Xanadu level through PayPal. Also, the easiest way to donate is to click on the Amazon bar on the right side of our homepage. This Amazon link will take you to Amazon.com to make your purchase. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can still log into your personal accounts when you get there. It's completely private, so think about us before you buy online. We have our co-host from Lexington, Kentucky, author, editor, screenwriter, film producer, Nic Brown. He has a new website, and it is authornicbrown.com. That's AUTHORNICBROWN.com. He's the author of the Werewolf for Hire series, series starting with Blood Curse. He's also selling a series of books in collaboration with his wife, Fiona Young Brown, called the B-Movie Cookbooks. All of these are available on Amazon. He has produced 3 movies. The first 2 are Wretch and Loss Prevention, both of which could be ordered on Blu-ray or DVD through Amazon. And he is also the producer of the award-winning film Fall of Usher, which is now available for purchase or rental on iTunes and Amazon streaming. Our special guest today is Matt Kowalski. He's a professor of history at both Temple University and Delaware County Community College. His teaching research interests are in the fields of modern Russian and Central East European cultural history, with a concentration on the Cold War and late socialism. His focus mainly revolves around the interplay of film, sport, and consumer culture, food, drink, etc., and society. He's authored 5 chapters of a new edition of the Global Studies textbook published by Kendall Hunt. The name of that is Aspirations and Dissonance, Readings in History, Religion, and Global Affairs. He's also recently had a chapter on Weimar horror films and the Great War, published in the new WW Reader. What's a WW Reader, by the way?
World War I.
Ah, okay. When not doing all that, he's trying to save money for his wedding to Marie. Hi, Marie. And watching too many genre films from too many countries, and watching his 2 main footy clubs, Liverpool FC and Central Red Army Moscow, play. Today's movie is the 1983 Polish Gothic horror film called Wilczyca, spelled Wilczyca. It's also known as She-Wolf or The Wolf. We finished our dive into amphibious creatures, and we've circled around now to Nick's favorite monsters, the werewolf. Whoa! Okay, this flick has a Bava feel to it, to me, or maybe early Hammer kind of feel. It's extremely atmospheric. It has some beautiful winter photography. It's all set in the 19th century Poland during a Prussian invasion. Very red blood. Kind of reminded me of the Italian stuff. Some gore, but not too disgusting. Brief boob shot, some Polish Catholicism with a bit of witchcraft mixed into it. But be warned, there are dead or dying animals in it, and I'm hoping that these are just really good special effects, and they didn't hurt those animals, because those were good special effects, I thought, because it kind of made me sick watching it. But anyway, supposedly 2 million Polish viewers saw this in 1983, making it one of the biggest box office hits of that year. In its home country, it was popular enough to spawn the 1990 sequel Powrot Wilczycy, Powrot, Wilczycy, which means the return of the wolf or the return of the she-wolf, which is made by the same director. It's available for streaming on Shudder for free if you get that service, or possibly sign up for the free membership for a month and cancel it. I saw it through Amazon Prime for a small free fee, and it was subtitled. I saw a version posted on YouTube, but I didn't really look at that one very long. It didn't have subtitles, and I didn't want to try to figure out how to turn on subtitles on YouTube. If that's
It might have been the old bootleg print that I first came across years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. Before we get into the movie, I need to correct something I said on the last cast. I said Benedict Cumberbatch was in the old Midsummer Murders episode, but I just watched that episode again. It's season 9, episode 7, and it wasn't Cumberbatch. It was Peter Capaldi. The guy who played the 12th Doctor on the Doctor Who series. So he was a pretty good character. I actually thought he was the murderer the minute I saw him. But, so it's Peter Capaldi, it's not Benedict Cumberbatch. And Midsummer Murders is still great.
Do we want to do the contest, Mary?
Yes. And the answer was The Island of Dr. Moreau from 1996.
Yes.
And which is your favorite? The old one? Or
Okay. Are you asking me or Kowalski?
Either, both.
Okay, and I'm very curious to hear what Nick has to say.
Okay, my honest favorite of all the different versions I've seen of The Island of Dr. Moreau is the 1977 version with Michael York.
That's the sleeper as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
way better than it gets credit for.
yeah, and it had a good cast, it had good special effects. I mean, the movie's just really good, Now, I think it's Island of Lost Souls with Bela Lugosi is an awesome flick, and I'm not going to discount it. But honestly, my favorite is the 77 version. And the one from 96 with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando, I like to drink and just sit back and watch it.
Oh, okay.
Give us some winners, Mary.
Our first prize is a really cool Santito surprise package. Since it's a surprise to us, let us know what goodies are in that package so we can post them, or post them yourself on the B Moviecast fans Facebook page. So winner number 1 is, Michael Travis. So congratulations, Michael. You have won the Santito package. And again,
hey, congratulations.
Post it. Okay. The second prize is a movie that Patrick Kelly sent a long time ago. It's a DVD called Christmas Holiday from 1944. This film noir was covered by us in 2021. It was episode 487. It's based on the 1939 novel of the same name by W. Somerset Maugham, who also wrote Of Human Bondage, The Painted Veil, and The Razor's Edge. Christmas Holiday was directed by Robert Sidemak and starred Deanna Durbin and Gene Kelly. It's about a woman, I remember this now, it's about a woman who marries a Southern aristocrat who inherited his family's streak of violence and instability and drags the woman into a life of misery. After he's arrested, she runs away from her husband's family, changes her name, and finds work as a singer in New Orleans dive. Wasn't she kind of like a call girl or something?
Okay, Mary, we did this on the podcast.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not answering the question. We did a whole podcast on it.
This is the one with the church. Never mind.
The one with the church.
The film received an Academy Award nomination for Best Musical Score for Hans J. Salter. And the winner is Tony Munn. So congratulations, Tony.
All right, congratulations.
One Christmas Holiday. It's a film noir, so, be prepared. It's kind of depressing.
Oh, come on, Mary. All film noirs have a happy ending.
Yeah, right.
That's their trademark, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Our third prize has been donated by Juan from fifthdimensionfilms.net. That's fifthdimensionfilms.net, 5THDIMENSIONFILMS.net. It's called The Atomic City from 1952. It's a lesser-known 1950 sci-fi with a twist. An atomic researcher's son is kidnapped and held for ransom for the father's atomic secrets. He was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay. Wow. Back in
Indeed.
52 for a sci-fi movie to be nominated. Wow. And it has some superb location filming in Los Alamos, New Mexico. It stars Gene Barry, Lydia Clark, and Michael Moore, and was directed by Jerry Hopper, who also did Secret of the Incas from 1954 and The Private War of Major Benson. We covered Secrets of the Incas back in 2021 on episode 465. I think it was with Eric, wasn't it? Anyway, I'm going to probably be watching this movie before I send it, so it's going to be open. And the winner is Christopher Page. So congratulations.
All right, Chris Page.
You have won a very interesting movie. That, again, will be open before you get it.
Because, Mary can't keep her hands off the prize movies.
I've got to see that movie. Wow. It's surprising that a movie, wasn't nominated back then.
I mean,
sci-fi
it's a
movie.
Juan joint, though. Can't you just, like, contact Juan and be like, hey, need this?
Well, he's the one that sent it to me in the first place to give it out as a prize, so I don't want to make him send me a second one. I will bite the bullet and just open this one. Sorry, Christopher. So, today's movie. Wilczyca.
Wilczyca.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try. Let's just say the she-wolf.
Well, and that's the literal translation. The wolf isn't a horrible translation, but Slavonic languages, much like Romance languages, have genders. So this wolf is a woman.
Oh.
Is that
Yes.
why it ends with CA?
Yep.
So the werewolf in the second one is a boy?
Weirdly enough, I have never seen the second one, so I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and say, is it that weird? I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, that one ends with a Y. So does that mean it's a boy?
That would just be wolf, yes.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, werewolf movie.
Yes.
I will admit that there are werewolf elements to it, but this really is much more like a voodoo witch doctor black magic evil spirit movie to me.
Yeah.
Matt?
So I first became aware of this film. God, it must be about 20 years ago, because I was in college, and by the way, my last name is Kowalski. I rolled with some Polish students, and they were like, "Oh, you're into like these weird movies. Back home we have weird movies." And I'm like, "Oh, word?" And they're like, "Yeah, there's this movie from the early '80s. It's like about a she-wolf." And I don't know. I'm thinking early '80s, so I'm thinking like, I don't know, the Howling Polish settings. I got a bootleg copy, grainy ass print. It was subtitled. The subtitles were atrocious. Like, my bad Polish then was better than the person who subtitled the film.
Wow.
But when you have that, oh no, that guy didn't say that. So I saw the film, and I was like, well, what is this? And I would, if you can find it, if you subscribe to Shudder, watch that print. Apparently, and I imagine it's the same print on Amazon. If you own, or if you don't own, like, spring for the Severin folk horror set, because first of all, it's an excellent set, but in a very real way, this film fits, and it fits because Nick, I mean, I guess in the broadest sense, this is a werewolf film. But if I was to categorize it, this film is Polish folk horror. This is Polish folk horror as only the People's Republic of Poland can possibly do it. And Mary, you brought up Bava. You said early Hammer. I was talking to Tom and Wolfie. Hi.
Hi, Tom and Wolfie.
About 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I think we're going to cover this film on the podcast. And they were both like, well, 1983, is it gory? And I was like, no, this is a Bava film or a Hammer film, just done by Polish communists.
Yeah.
It literally is.
Yeah.
It's all those gothic elements that we love from those European films from the 50s, the late 50s, the 1960s, the early 70s, just done in Poland.
Yeah.
But also done in and I hope we talk about this tonight, a really weirdly subversive way.
Okay.
I can totally see that. And, this is the thing. you talk about werewolves, and there are so many different legends, superstitions, traditions, whatever you want to call it, about the origin of werewolves, where they come from, how you become a werewolf. Generally speaking, they are all leaning towards pacts with the devil, or you did something unspeakably horrible and, this is your punishment. But there are many, like for some folklore, the way you become a werewolf is you put on a belt that is made of wolf hide that the devil gives you.
Whoa.
And that lets you turn into the werewolf. And there's also some where if you drink water, standing water from a wolf paw print in the ground, you will become a werewolf.
Wow.
And part of my thought about that one is, at what point are you walking through the woods, see a paw print with some muddy water in it, and go, time for a drink?
You're very thirsty.
And, well, I guess if you're that thirsty, bring a canteen. But anyway, there are so many legends, and this one, she's got a wolf's paw, like a cut off wolf's paw, as a talisman at some points. And I think I can totally see how in, Polish folklore of the 19th century, that would be something that would lead to becoming a wolf-like creature or some sort of evil creature associated with a wolf.
The film, and if you get or see the print on the Severin set, I'd highly recommend listening to the interview with the director, Marek Petrosik, and he sort of frames the film, or the way that he talks about its inception is it's various elements of Polish folklore, old werewolf stories, old vampire stories, stories about the devil and all, coming together and just getting blended up, and then taking that blender and smashing it up against the wall and seeing what you have.
He said that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Explains the stake in the heart. That one kind of, I was like,
well, that's the vampire stuff. And the other thing, too, is you have to remember, Poland used to be really big. And so even the legends and the folklore dealing with vampires, werewolves, what have you, varied from place to place, and in the old days, village to village.
Yeah.
So a lot of those traditions that we're so used to in this time and place to have canon. And God forbid you stray off of canon and people. But like in pre-modern, pre-industrial Poland, each little village or each little area had their own canon. So like the guy who wrote the screenplay, Jerzy Dreskowski, sort of took various little bits and pieces of different regional, Polish folklores and just smashed it together and was like, I'm going to do a gothic horror film set during, I hope we talk about this because this is where it gets kind of subversive.
Yeah.
During a period of Polish resistance to foreign occupation.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, and I know I'm looking forward to talking about this, because one of the things they kept talking about, the Hussars?
Hussars.
And Hussars. Yeah, and
which,
I was like,
the way were originally supposed to be Cossacks.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense to me, but it's funny because, okay, we're watching the film, and Fiona's watching it with me, and she's like, Hussars, and she's like, those were German troops. And I was like, really? Because
Fiona's interested, I can introduce her to a song that I learned in the Polish Scouts, where the lyrics are literally, we'd rather kill our children before you Germanize them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if, I'm going to say send it to her because I'm curious too.
It's called Rota, the Oath. So, if you didn't know, I'm freaking Polish. And
wait, you are?
Yes. And
I had no
Polish,
idea.
There's certain things that every ethnic group is effectively created, imagined, forged, right? There's nothing about me where it's like, he's Polish, but it's all traditions, historical context. There's really two big things that define, and I posted something on Facebook a couple days ago because it dawned on me, and I'm like, this film, this explains it. Modern Polish identity, which is a 19th century, so the time that this film is set, sort of creation. There was a kingdom of Poland and Lithuania, but it vanished quite literally. And, it was multi-ethnic, and if you asked a peasant in one part of the place, who are you, they'd probably just say, I'm a peasant. Modern Polishness is inscribed by two major things. One, which is sort of inseparable from the other, is Roman Catholicism.
Okay.
Be Polish is to be Catholic. And it's a weird kind of Catholicism because it operates sort of like Irish Catholicism. In places like Spain, France, and Italy, Catholicism was linked to the ruling elites, and so you get this kind of popular anti-clericalism. Okay. In Ireland, where the Catholic Church was the repository of Irish culture and the vehicle of resistance against England. And in Poland, where the Catholic Church was the repository for natural culture and also resistance to Orthodox Russians and Germans, in many cases Protestant Germans.
Yes.
The Catholic Church becomes part and parcel of national identity.
Yes.
To be Polish means to be Catholic. To not be Catholic means to be anti-Polish. Poland is Jesus. In fact, Poland is the Christ of nations. We have to be sacrificed in order to then be born again and to be redeemed. And to redeem potentially other people. I mean, geez, this is what Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II said in the 80s. The other thing goes back to the foreign occupation and resistance. Poland used to be a giant country until it didn't exist. Literally, beginning in 1790.
I thought Poland was like Prussian, most of its history.
No, there's a place called Poland, Lithuania. It was this huge country that its current borders were, where the German-Polish border was, and its eastern border was in Smolensk, so 100 miles west of Moscow.
See, I thought that was all under the Prussian rule.
This is where I'm coming to this, Mary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, patience, Mary, patience.
So in the early modern period, when most states, including Prussia, which would eventually become Germany, the Austrian Empire and Russia are centralizing, Poland goes into a funk. And if anything, late medieval, early modern Poland is a commercial for why Republicans shouldn't be able to do what they do. The nobility effectively stopped paying their taxes. The state started to collapse, and you used to have a strong king, but then you had a point where, the nobles elected the king. So the nobles wouldn't elect a guy who'd be like, hey, guys, you got to pay your taxes. You got to give me serfs to be in the army. You have to take some of your power and privilege and give it to me for the betterment of this thing. They would elect, losers, drunks. And so, Poland starts to get munched by its rivals. To the point by the 1790s, there is no Poland. Poland has been erased from the map of Europe.
It's been taken over by basically Austria, Prussia, and Russia, right?
Yep.
Okay. And this kind of makes sense to some of the stuff I read about this movie because, I didn't get to see the interview with the director and him talking about all the making of the film and things behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I did read was that, behind the Iron Curtain, Poland, when he went to make this film, and I'm going to put air quotes around it, the bad guys here were not, these hussars, or however you say it. It was the Cossacks.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that in just a second.
Oh, okay. I'm jumping now. Carry on.
This foreign occupation thing, it looms large.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it, and I was like, wait a minute, what are the first words to the Polish national anthem? Because most national anthems, most Imagine Communities fight songs are, let me big up my Imagine Community, it's the best. It's a fight song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The first words of the Polish national anthem are, Rzeźna Polska, Niesia nie ma, which literally translates to Poland has not yet vanished.
We're survivors.
Wow.
Yeah, literally, the national ethos is we're not dead, mother effer.
Yeah.
We're not dead yet.
We're not dead yet. We're not dead.
Yeah.
So, flash forward to around the time this film is being made, and there is a Poland whose borders, by the way, are remarkably different.
Yes.
But it's a Poland which is firmly behind the Iron Curtain.
Mm-hmm. Ruled by Russia.
Well, here's the...
Not ruled by Russia, but that's the influence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Actually existing socialism was brought to Poland and was always kind of seen as, it's not that we don't necessarily enjoy socialism, but this is a foreign import.
Mm.
And we're very uncomfortable with this.
Okay.
And so a little bit of background information to the Poland before this movie's made. The decade before Wilczyca comes out is weirdly kind of remembered as sort of a golden era of the People's Republic of Poland, in so much that the guy who was in charge, Edward Gierek, he was a technocrat, which effectively meant he was a man without thoughts. He was very good at getting things done, but like deep thinker, not so much.
You're talking about 1973 or something.
Yes.
Back in the 70s, okay.
Yeah. And so in the 70s, you had this relatively kind of culturally liberal, mainly because they realized, too, it was like, we need foreign currency. There are a lot of Poles outside of Poland, like me, who might want to come to Poland and spend money, and it'd be good if we could, like, take their money. So, like, you have this kind of general cultural opening up, and you have this vibrant consumer culture. Like, the Polish economy doubled in the course of, 5 years in the early 70s. There's a real problem with this, though. And it goes back to they don't have money. They run a line of credit like a college freshman. And then in the mid-70s, the frickin' oil crisis and the general global economic shutdown happens. And Poland is screwed. So you have this, dictatorship, which people tolerated when, Kibasi was on the shelves. Vodka was relatively cheap. You can get all the Western stuff, but you could get more of the Western stuff than like people in the Soviet Union could. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But now the economy just stops. And this leads to the events of 1979, 1980, and the big strikes in the London shipyards at Gdansk, and the birth of Solidarność, Solidarity, the big trade union, Lech Walesa, and all of that.
Okay.
That's when Poland actually becomes a country, a legitimate on its own country, isn't it?
World War I destroys all three of those empires.
What does?
World War I.
Yeah.
So Poland reemerges after World War I, but then World War I Part II has to happen, and then it's after World War II that you get the People's Republic of Poland.
Right. But then back in the 80s, when with like Wilenska, they became Poland again on their own.
They're Poland.
Well, I mean, it became not ruled by the Soviet Union anymore.
Well, that's what they want. Because Solidarity emerges as a labor union. And mostly around economic grievances, but pretty soon that becomes political.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where it's like, the Communist Party of Poland needs to share power with other groups. We need more grassroots democracy. We need this, we need that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in December 1981, the Polish army, under the leadership of General Wojciech, maybe because the Soviets were like, hey, we might Czechoslovakia you, decides to impose martial law.
Okay.
Okay.
And the military, this film is made while the Polish military, which is effectively an arm of the Polish Workers' Party, which is seen as a foreign implant, is ruling Poland. There's not even a pretense of democracy. If you're late for work, the military can arrest you, and there's no like normal courts. This is martial law. There's martial law in the country for 3 years.
Okay.
And that's why this film is, I have no idea what the Polish censors were drinking or smoking. Because the film is made, you have this film that is aggressively Polish nationalist, made during martial law, to the point that in that interview, I'd really recommend watching it, the director says, well, all of the guns, even though they were antique, we had to make sure that we wrote to the military to ask permission. All of the gasoline that we needed to go from place to place, we had to ask, especially because the military was afraid if you're asking for gasoline, you might make a Molotov cocktail. Yep. It's like, you're not going to use that for your car. You're going to throw that out of a tank.
So my question is, the original, did he write this or did he just change something? Was the original story an adaptation of something that had been written before, or did he write it?
So Jerzy Gotowski wrote the screenplay in the late 70s.
Okay.
And in that screenplay, the quote-unquote bad guys, Nick, are Russian Cossacks.
Right, from 1863.
1863, which is one of many. And that's, I guess, that's the great thing about Poland. Every 30 years, we're good for a revolution. One of the many rebellions against foreign rule.
Okay. And that rule back in 1863 was Russian.
Yeah.
Okay. So they changed the timeline in this movie so they wouldn't get in trouble with the communists that are in power in the 1980s. They changed the time period to 1848, which was an uprising against the Austrians.
Yep. They submit the script to the censors, and the censors are like, you can't have the Russians as the bad guys because the Russians, Soviets, are our fraternal brothers.
Yes.
But you can piss all over Germans, F Germans. So we will turn them into Austrians, or you could turn them into Prussians. But the director was like, the lithograph photographs that are a big part of the plot.
Yes.
That has to be 1863. But then he was like, oh, wait a minute. They had these in 1848, 1849. Great. We can turn them into Austrians.
Okay.
And so they allowed him to make the movie, which is kind of crazy because I watched this film with Marie, and I will reference my dear wife Marie quite a bit tonight. She has lived with me. She has known me for many years, and she knows the intricacies and the weirdnesses of being Polish American. There were times during the film where she was just like, oh no, that, oh God, that. And actually her summing up at the end of the film is fantastic. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. One of the reasons that this film had such a viewership, over 20 million,
Mm-hmm.
was because this film spoke to the anxieties and the angst of a lot of ordinary Poles who were like, yeah, I'm glad to be Polish.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to listen to this fill in the blank being fed to me by this foreign oppressor. And part of it works. This works on so many levels because that's such a key part of Polish identity. We are Polish. We are not you.
Mm-hmm.
You. But part of it too is, and I'm not going to give too much away, but there's something I've also been thinking about. Actually, existing socialist societies really didn't do Gothic horror, right? You know, we did V, the Soviet film. But that's really the only example from the Soviet Union.
Oh.
It's really the only example. You have, you know, outliers, though. You have Yugoslavia, which is always different. And you had Poland. And I think one of the reasons why you don't have Gothic horror in these societies is socialism was so futuristically focused that going back to the Gothic, going back to the past, ideologically didn't make sense. And if you think about horror as allegory for all of the really horrific things that happen in societies that we don't want to talk about, so we have to create monsters to talk about them. Yeah, and dictatorships that don't fly, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, don't bring up the trauma.
Yeah.
Poland's a little bit different because I think being a Roman Catholic country, and also being a Roman Catholic country where its Roman Catholicism is probably the most pagan version of Catholicism on the face of the planet, that it's almost ready-made for that. And Poland, unlike a lot of these places, had a Gothic literary tradition. Stefan Grabinski, not the guy who wrote the screenplay of this film, a different fellow from the late 19th century, was like the Polish equivalent of Bram Stoker. You know, the Poles were doing Gothic literature, you know, even before there was a Poland. So there's a tradition there. And so I'm really excited to talk about this film, obviously.
But anyway, no, I'm watching this, and there's all this stuff going on, and I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder how historically accurate any of this is, and what's going, because there was so much going on that was kind of going over my head.
So there was a major rebellion in Poland, Austrian Poland. So the area around Krakow, what is now sort of southern Poland, in the Austrian Empire in 1848, 1849. Like most of the revolutions of 1848, 1849, it fails abysmally.
Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what this movie's based on, that one, right?
Yes. And in terms of, you know, the uniforms that Fiona saw and the houses and stuff, it's actually remarkably historically accurate in so much that, like, again, the firearms, they had to ask the Polish Ministry of Defense, effectively the government of Poland at this point, hey, can we borrow muskets to film this movie? We won't shoot at the police, we promise. But another thing that's brought up in that, you know, that interview is all of the houses and the palaces.
Mm-hmm.
The set design, that's real. All of that is real, but it makes sense though, because so you have this film that on the one hand is, and we'll get into the nitty gritty, is kind of like really subversive to this socialist regime. But this is actually one of the benefits of filming a movie, particularly an historical film, in a socialist regime. Those houses that used to belong to rich bastards, they ain't their houses no more.
Who do they belong to?
They're museums. They're for the people.
Yeah, the state took them.
Yeah, you can film as much as you want there. That's public property, Mary. That's our property.
But who lives there?
Nobody.
They're empty.
They're museums.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, they were just like, oh, we'll film here. We'll film at this museum. We'll film at this museum. The Nazis didn't burn this one down during World War II. We'll go there. Okay.
Okay.
So, in terms of, the visual, yeah, this is all legit, Nick. Even the, like, uniforms and costumes came from the big museums in Warsaw.
Wow.
Okay, and that makes perfect sense. And, I was watching it and I was like, these are real houses. These are real, and I was thinking about the time and I was like, I doubt that they're, I was thinking maybe high-ranking party members might live in them or something. But
no, you got to build your own mansion. Moved into the old boss's house, that's bad optics, yo.
Oh.
That's bad optics, yo.
That's true.
Is Poland democratic now, or is it still socialist?
Oh, dear God.
Okay, never mind.
Wow, open up a can there, Mary.
Never mind.
It's not socialist, but it's not democratic either.
Okay.
The people that currently run the country are, well, let's say it's what a guy who used to run this country thought he could turn this country into.
Ah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, Mary, we're going to be subtle because we don't do politics on the B Movie
Tell
Cast.
me that later then.
I'll say it. The party that governs Poland, which is called the Law and Justice Party, which, by the way, the terms law and justice are not the same. So merging them together makes no sense in my brain, but I guess if that's what you're doing, fine. The country is effectively like low-grade Polish Catholic fascist.
Okay, so the people in power were elected, or they were
elected, and then they rewrote the Constitution to change what democracy means.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the media isn't totally free. The history textbooks are really weird. The history textbooks are in some ways the narrative of this film, but even more or less problematic.
Okay. This film did make me do a deep dive into what Prussians were. Because they mentioned the word Prussians a lot, and it was like, okay. And it took me like 4 hours one night going through just trying to figure out all those different border changes.
To figure out a place that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, this is going to sound weird. I've been to Kaliningrad, formerly Königsberg.
Okay.
That's that enclave of Russia it's next to Poland, next to Lithuania, not connected to Russia at all.
Okay.
Black market cigarette capital of the world.
Oh.
That's not the reason I went there, but I'm just saying.
Well, that's a good reason to go, though.
Well, I mean, hey, if you're doing research and you smoke cigs, I don't smoke cigs no more. There will be guys in like shady, bad Eastern European cars with their hoods up, and you can buy cartons real cheap.
Wow.
We may be packing that truck up and heading out. I'm just saying, Mary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that was what was confusing about this movie to me was who those. Well, weren't they calling them Prussians?
No, they're Austrians, and that's why I'm
calling them Austrian.
Yeah, no. I'm wondering what version you watched, or what subtitles. Because the version, or at least the subtitles on the Severn disc, they're clearly identified as Austrian.
Okay.
Because there wasn't, and Hussars would indicate Austria-Hungary. So I'm wondering, maybe the version you got is maybe a slightly better print, but it's also the subtitles that don't make any sense.
I don't know. Maybe I just picked up Prussian somewhere in my research and that got stuck in my head. Who knows?
That's possible. Like I said, Poland is the train station of Europe. Everybody stops there.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
No, I love it because, that the movie was so atmospheric and having access to those mansions to film in and, getting the government to give them the muskets, which, I'm imagining all these guys with these flintlock rifles and muskets. And I think at one point he had a shotgun, and I'm imagining the government with guys with, submachine guns standing off camera, just keeping an eye on them.
The secret police have AK-47s, just like, we're going to watch you use that.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
You filming a movie?
What?
Yeah. I can't imagine them being worried about people with flintlock guns.
Mary, they were worried about people taking gasoline and making Molotov cocktails.
Literally.
So, yes, they would be worried.
Even the authoritarian constitution was suspended for a couple years. So, that tells you all you need to know. And again, there's a lot of questions about why martial law was. Did the Soviets say you need to do this, or did the Polish army look at the situation and they were like, do we want to be invaded again? No, let's clean it up ourselves. Screw this.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about any of the creative crew, or?
I would like to learn a little bit more, and I'll be honest, I have left this one totally to your knowledge base because I was having trouble just following everybody's names in this.
I was having trouble finding anything about it online.
Well, okay, that's part of it. This movie, I feel like I'm a part of a special club, not being Polish American, but just being clued into that this movie existed. So I never would have known about it until probably a couple of years ago or so. But again, when I was an undergrad, I rolled in the Polish American Club on campus, and I guess enough people were like, "Oh, he's the weird guy that likes horror movies." You have this thing, and it's like, "Whoa, we have this thing? Give me this thing!" And that's how I saw this bootleg version. I was like, "Something wrong with this," but I really kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little surprised though. The director, Marek Pestrak, he did a film which I might be totally wrong, and if I am wrong, maybe we can do it at some point. But isn't there a Vince episode?
I thought we did Test Pilot.
Test Pilot Pizza.
I thought we did, but I Googled it and I didn't see it on our website. So maybe Vince, you just sent the movie to Vince and that's how we watched it and we got really into it and then never did.
That movie also has like 7 different freaking titles.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you guys did it under an anglicized title or something.
I mean, I typed in Test Pilot. I typed in just the word Pirxa, Pirxa.
I thought you guys did that.
I don't have any memory of doing it.
Okay.
And, I'm not saying I did every episode, but I did a lot of the episodes.
I mean, even if you weren't on, you were doing the
Oh, maybe I was doing a show. Yeah.
You might not have actually been. A lot of times you would record something.
That's true.
And Vince would just play it in the middle. So,
but
still,
I
you
would have
would have
watched the
remembered.
movie if I recorded something, and I ain't seen this flick.
That's true.
All I'm going to say is I think we should all collectively go through the archives, and if we didn't do it, because I definitely talked to Vince about it.
Oh yeah, I remember watching
like,
it.
"Oh, your people did this crazy, science fiction film in 1970," and I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, I definitely want to do that one.
Do that.
And he directed that too, didn't he?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
The cast is, and Mary, this is probably where you run into problems, if you're not familiar with Polish cinema,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know these people.
Right.
Krzysztof Jankanski, who is Gaspar, our hero, I guess. Other than this, he mostly did TV work. I know him, though, because Joseph Conrad, who wrote Heart of Darkness, among other things, was actually Polish. And Polish television, I guess it must have been the 90s, did a, miniseries about his life. And he was Conrad. And so that's the only other place that I possibly could have seen him in.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, my favorite member of the cast, Ivona Beliska, who is Marina, Mary,
and Julia.
Julia. She was in quite a few things. Now, are any of you guys familiar with the work of Andrzej Zulawski?
No.
I would like to act like I am, but I don't have a clue.
So, Nick, you haven't seen Possession?
Possession. Yeah.
That's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am. I just didn't realize it.
His last film done in Poland, before he was literally chucked out of the country, effectively, is a science fiction film called On the Silver Globe. And she's in that. Probably the first thing I ever saw her in. And she has a small role in a film, Nick, you might have seen it, called The Lore.
The Lore. That one's not, I'm not familiar with that one.
Polish horror mermaid film.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. It's real weird. And I went into it being prepared to hate it. I left unsure, rewatched it. I guess not that long ago. I think that was one of my COVID films. And I was like, well, this isn't too bad. I would actually recommend it. So she has a small part in that.
Did Zulawski do that one too?
No, he did not.
Oh, okay.
He's unfortunately no longer with us.
Oh.
So actually, now that I think about it, maybe we should do his. You said there's a film called The Devil. Might want to check it out. Stanislav Bilginot, who plays the Count Ludwig, who we'll talk about the Polish aristocracy and how they suck. I was certain I didn't know this guy, but I know this guy. So there was a Polish Sherlock Holmes series from the 1980s, and I'm convinced I might be the only person associated with this podcast has ever seen it. And so he's in that, and he also had a small role in Schindler's List.
Yeah, I saw that. That surprised me.
Oh, wow.
But then I've never watched Schindler's List because it was too depressing. There's some movies I just can't watch because I know they're going to really upset me.
Well, so much for
that one. Actually, no, I'm not going to say no.
I'm just going to say so much for the indomitable human spirit.
Yeah, I just. Oh well.
Moving on.
Yes.
Ozar Lukashevich, who plays Otto, the Hussar officer.
Mm-hmm.
I knew this guy. I knew this guy immediately.
Really?
Oh no, because I was like, he's the Polish dude that looks like why am I drawing a blank? German actor.
I have no idea.
I don't either.
And that, I just pulled a Mary and went vague as hell. Anyway.
Okay, so
he's
German guy.
He's in a Polish sci-fi satire, which also speaks a lot about Poland during the socialist era. You have martial law where the state's like, we'll only give you gasoline if you promise you and use it as bombs, to here, we'll approve this script. It's called Sex Mission.
Oh, I looked up a picture of that. They're in silver spacesuits with bubble helmets on.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating little film, and it's
wow
about effectively the commodification of sex, and what if, for lack of a better term, Playboy ruled the world. If capitalist hegemony was Playboy.
Okay.
By the way, he looks like Udo Kier.
Udo Kier, yes. Okay, and you're right. He does look like Udo Kier.
High cheekbones. So Sex Mission is kind of great. It's literally, cryogenically freeze, I guess, cosmonauts wake up and women rule the world, but it's this weird sort of play. It's good. He was also in Katyn from 2007, which is one of Andrei Bajda's last films, which is notable. And then finally, the only other cast member that I have is Hanna Stokovina, who plays the maid.
Okay, and what was her name? Hortense. That's how they were translating it in the subtitles. I was like, Hortense.
I assume she's French.
Okay.
And she was in Third Part of the Night, which is Kowalski's first film. Considering what you said, Mary, you don't want to watch that movie. And a film which I wouldn't mind, dare I say, coming back and talking with you guys about, a film called Lokis from 1970.
Okay.
Nick, you ever heard of Lokis?
No, not off the top of my head.
So Lokis is a Lithuanian term. It's actually from a French novella. But it's a Lithuanian term for bear.
Okay.
It's a film about a werebear.
Ooh.
Yes.
No, you got me. I'm down.
Okay.
See, I'm a hard sell sometimes, obviously.
It's about a werebear, and there's actually a couple versions of it, but the 1970 Polish one is probably the best.
What's the name of it again?
Lokis. Lokis.
Okay, I've seen that a couple places. Yeah. That movie, this movie, The Wolf, came out on a set with that movie. It was a 2-movie set.
Yeah. So
okay.
It's actually, I think it's like 15 movies. If those of you who are interested in folk horror, and maybe we can talk about what folk horror is or is not, you have to buy that set because
have you seen the price of that set?
I bought it when it was on sale. Goddamn it! I saw the titles and I was like, shit.
Wow.
Not to mention that several of my comrades contributed to it, which represent big up true. But like,
we're talking $170.
But you get 12 movies. You get an excellent documentary, and you also get literally, it's a global history of folk horror.
Oh yeah, I mean it would be great, but
it's everywhere, and it's these films, and particularly this film, where you couldn't score a good print of it for years.
Yeah.
This was a film on the bootleg market, and it was almost kind of beyond, shout out, Rod Barnett and Troy Gwynn bootleg market, because at least they're dealing in like Western Europe, where it's like, oh, Spanish or Italian stuff. Nobody wants to see a freaking Polish werewolf film except my crazy. Who the hell, who's even recording these things?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm interested in seeing it. So there you go.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see these movies. There's some really great ones.
So, we've digressed a bit, but try to get the set if you can. It's expensive, but it's it's worth it.
Now, I'd be interested in checking it out, and I do have a birthday coming up, so who knows? Maybe the movie fairy will drop it in my lap.
Go. So,
Introduce me to that fairy, please. Well, okay, there's an interview on that Loki one, in the Severance set. There's an interview called Wild Country of the Werebear.
Yep.
An interview with director Janusz Majewski. Wow.
It
does. That's disc number 8.
Expensive, but it's worth its weight in gold.
Yes. Okay.
Do we want to, by the way, because we've entered into the territory, and this is
no.
Stupid horror interwebs. So, do we want to, like, kind of define or just, like, very briefly sketch out why this is folk horror?
I think that might not be a bad idea because it's got
so many different bits and pieces in it that.
Folk horror is kind of now become there's a joke going around. Is it Jell-O? Because apparently every goddamn thing is Jell-O. Folk horror is the new goddamn Jell-O. It's like hops to American beer 10 years ago. It's hot. It's bloody hot sauce 15 years ago. It's a term which it's meaningful, but also its meaning is debated.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest, or I'm going to throw out here, some reasons why this can be folk horror. And Mary, you inadvertently opened that can of worms by what you said when you first started watching it. You texted me and you were like, it's cold. In order to be a folk horror, because we think folk horror, we think The Witchfinder General, we think Blood on Satan's Claw, we think The Wicker Man, we think Britain. And we think British films about the British countryside, where the land, the soil itself is a character.
Yes.
Yeah.
This film doesn't fuck around.
No.
Does not F around with that. From the first scene, the Polish countryside is a character.
Yes. And it's cold and bleak and very atmospheric.
It's cold, it's bleak, it's atmospheric, and it's, I don't know about you, Nick, the opening credits, and the first time I saw this movie 20 years ago, I was like, this looks like a spaghetti western.
Kind of.
You know, I could see that. I mean, they substituted a frozen tundra for, the Spanish, Badlands. But, I could totally see that.
Well, but you also have things like the Great Silence that occur.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, wow, this is... And it's not just the land. It's land upset and land, dare I say, almost christened by war and death.
Okay.
The other big sort of thing, at least as far as I'm concerned, with folk horror is this tension between, it's usually urban and rural, but I think another way to think about it is modern versus pre-modern. And that plays into this too, because our intrepid hero, maybe not, depending on how you want to view it, Cuthbert, he's a Polish revolutionary, and he's very much a Polish revolutionary of the mid-19th century. He wants to liberate Poland. You don't really get a full grasp of what kind of Poland he wants. Right. But when his peasant brother is like, we need to stake your dead wife, otherwise she's coming back, he looks at him and he's just like, you're an idiot. No, because he's a man of the Enlightenment. He's a man of science.
Oh, okay.
Reason. That's what that's the modern world. His brother is
the folk belongs to the peasants.
Yeah, he's one of the peasants. Yeah. But there's also another aspect of this. So, like, the revolution fails, he needs work, so he goes to work with these nobles.
Mm-hmm.
And there too is that modern versus pre-modern. Here's a landed aristocrat whose only power and only position in life is because he's some inbred dude who has now realized he's Polish after 3 generations making a deal with the Austrians. And he has to be his damn butler or his groundskeeper. And he's just sitting there and being like, okay, man, okay, we do. But it's like, you are the old, I'm the new, and that there's that tension there. There's that implicit tension there of the old ruling class versus what I guess in Kasper's mind should be the new ruling class, the new Poland, the new reborn state.
Well, Casper had his own land.
But he's a minor noble.
Oh, okay.
Has to go work for a larger noble.
Okay.
And
Well,
again,
he had a nice house, but it was also full of dogs, if you notice, Mary. Because every time he opened the door to his house, dogs came running out.
Yeah. Well, he left 2 there and kept one.
And I guess like minor nobility, the more that I keep diving into this in Eastern Europe, is more like, I don't know, the sort of working class ethnic houses that I grew up in North Jersey, and I assume Mary around Pittsburgh. It's like, I gotta bounce, but I don't want to lose the property value on this. Hey, brother, do you want to take this?
Yeah.
Find a relative that can like not make it go on fire.
Yeah.
That sort of makes sense to this. And, I knew he was working for the noble. I was confused about what he did with most of the rest of his time, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, I said sort of butler, and I would hesitate to say that. I think it was his gamekeeper.
Yeah, maybe like a groundskeeper, gameskeeper, or
yeah.
Master of arms might even be an appropriate term, because he was setting him with the task of keeping an eye on the place while he was gone, but also kind of defending him and going with him at first when the nobleman sets out, and kind of as a protector almost, I got the feeling. So,
and again, there's that kind of weird traditional versus modern, and there's sort of a class tension built in there too, because like you get the sense that, well, by the end of the movie, you definitely get the sense Casper's a real believer. When things get bad, the Count, he bounces.
Yeah, he took off for Hungary.
Yeah, he really, yeah.
Yeah. But I thought Casper went to that big mansion because he was trying to get away from the spirit of his wife.
Well,
his
okay.
Dead wife. I thought that's why he went. Not as much to make money, is just to get the hell away from that house. No.
Well, that's possible.
That's certainly part of it.
Okay. Well, that's true, because he didn't believe in it anyway, though.
No.
He didn't believe there was a spirit of his dead wife that was going to come after him, even though she said it.
And, he starts believing, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Why did he go to that house?
Do what?
Why did he go to the big house and become that steward?
So...
Did he need the money?
After 1848, 1849, the Polish rebellion gets crushed. It's assumed, it's never explicitly stated, that that's where Casper's been for the last year and a half.
Oh.
He's fighting and dedicating himself to Poland. This cause is being crushed. He's an enemy. But there's this noble who, again, if you think about Polish history in that context, they're one of the reasons why you have to be part of this resistance, who is at least friendly to the cause and will offer you work and protection. So there. And your wife, who, at least initially, he's like, she has spurned me, she has spurned God. we'll get a little bit to that. She's dead, so there's nothing there. I can go there now.
Okay.
But we'll talk about, she spurned God, but she also spurned something else. But
Well, I'm going to say this. Mary, the wife, kind of spurns everything,
Yes.
apparently.
well, okay.
I'm trying to imagine what he saw in her because
Well, you saw the picture of her when she was younger. She was a beautiful woman.
yeah, but that kind of attitude can take a lot out of the beauty. Trust me.
But she might not have had that attitude at the beginning. It was after he kept running off and doing wars and not coming back for 4 or 5 years. And
there's two things going on here. I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. This film is very pro-Polish nationalism,
okay.
but also at the same time kind of subverts that, because let's be real, Kasper and pretty much every male character in the film is freaking useless.
Yes.
No, they are. When it comes to like relationships and stuff, they suck.
Yeah.
They suck.
Yeah.
Kasper is all about, I'm going to liberate Poland. You're my wife, but you know what? You're my wife. You're second.
Yeah.
Poland is Poland's first. You have this noble who, yeah, I'm a noble. I've gone into this cause, although I'm not really all that great in this cause. But it's like,
You mean Count Ludwig?
Yeah, Count Ludwig.
Yeah.
I don't know my wife.
Yeah.
So you have these Polish males that are supposed to be the, harbingers of the nation, the defenders of the nation. And really, they're all screwed up.
Yes.
They're horrible.
I mean, that was the bad part about this movie is he's the hero, okay, Kasper. But to me, he wasn't really a hero. And then his wife, Mary or Julia, whatever, they're supposed to be the evil embodiment of evil, but they weren't that evil. I mean, the bad guys don't seem that bad to me when you think about what they went through to the girl, what they went through to be who they are. I can see how those women turned into what they were because of how they were treated all their lives by the men who are in this movie the heroes, but they're really yuck. I don't consider them good people. To me, they aren't the heroes.
I think
I
think at the end of the film, Kasper gets redeemed, at least in terms of the arc. This is why Mary,
yes,
is evil, and Marie picked this up immediately.
Why is she evil?
She's been sleeping around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he runs off and beats her all the time.
Hold on. She's been doing Satanism, right?
She has been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. She was doing it big time, Mary.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So,
Mary, let's...
No. It's not even Satanism. Satanism smells potatoes. Remember what I said earlier about what makes Poland Poland? What's the first thing that you notice that's gone from that room when he comes back?
The cross.
The cross.
So if you threw out the cross, what did you throw out, Mary?
Okay.
Throw out Poland.
Okay.
You have thrown out Poland.
Yeah, Mary, he threw out Poland.
This thing. He has been doing this thing, and she throws out what is the essence of Poland. It's not, she's sleeping around because he's, doing this. And the funny thing about that is, again, his quote-unquote patriotism isn't viewed in a great light. I think it's like, this guy's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
His nationalism is ridiculous. But as soon as that cross was gone, Marie was like, oh, she's dead. She's sick. And I was like, yeah. That's Christ of Nations, yeah.
I know, but still.
You done stirred up.
Yeah.
And in that context, you have, let's just mashing up of all these things, which I want to hear what Nick has to say. In this film, and this is a common trope in a lot of Eastern European stuff, the dark forces are code for whatever is not us. So in this case, Satanism is equivalent to anti-Polishness, it's collaboration, etc. So it would, and again, in the context of the 80s, this is like a Solidarnist guy who's, been on the picket line for, a year.
Okay.
Law, gets arrested. Then his wife's sleeping with the local head of the secret police.
Okay, so you're talking, this is like the subtext of this whole movie.
It absolutely is subtext. She's a traitor.
She's a traitor, he's the good guy. Okay.
Yeah.
From that, I can see that from that standpoint, but not looking at it from that standpoint, I didn't like him at all. And I didn't really like her, but I understood where she was at. As a human being, I could see where she, what she went through to get to where she's at.
And see, that's what I would sort of suggest. I'm like, I think Casper is redeemed at the end, at least from my understanding of the film, but he's not a great human being.
No.
He sucks too.
Yeah. Pretty much everybody did.
Yeah.
Well,
except the priest.
That's okay.
I mean, the doctor. He was pretty cool.
Okay, we'll talk about him too, because he's an
Wasn't he the Jewish doctor?
He's an assimilated Jew.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't they say he's like a really good Jew or something?
Yeah,
I mean, it was something that I went, whoa.
That was the guy that was hung. That was the guy that ran the inn.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was a different one.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, it's actually in Simpatico. You guys got a weird cinematic rendition of another, in this case, a very unfortunate trope in Polish identity. Jews have been in the Polish lands forever, but Jews have also been the great other.
Yeah.
So anti-Semitism is a very real thing.
Yeah.
And so there's two Jewish characters in this film, and both of them operate in this kind of vector. So you have the innkeeper, who I forget what his name is, but he's the one who's going to smuggle Caspar and the Count across the border.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Hussars get there first, and they string them up.
Yeah.
And the Count throws out a little, a seemingly throwaway line. Nick, I'm very glad you brought that up. Oh, he was a decent Jew.
Yeah.
Being a decent Jew, first of all, saying, well, he's a Jew, not a Pole, because effectively he died for Poland.
Right.
Is you're already othering.
Yeah.
To be a decent Jew means that you are pro-Polish. Anything not, you are the eternal wanderer. You are the person who steals Christian babies and makes them into matzah. You are the root of the Judeo-Bolshevik conspiracy. You are every anti-Semitic trope thrown in there. And the character of Dr. Goldberg is very interesting because he, I guess, would qualify at that time as a decent Jew. Because what a lot of Jews did at this time to make a choice was to assimilate.
Did they assimilate with the people who had taken over the Poles, or did they assimilate with the Poles?
Both.
Oh, okay.
It depended. Because you can't express yourself as Jewish because everybody thinks you're this weird foreigner who doesn't really fit, even though you've been there for like over 500 years.
Right.
And so the Dr. Goldberg character is really weird. He's like, his last name's Goldberg. He's very clearly Jewish.
Yeah.
Yet he's talking about all of these sort of distinctly Polish. So like the way that it handles the Jewish question, I think is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of the case even during the People's Republic of Poland, where it's like, officially, it's like anti-Semitism doesn't exist. If you're an anti-Semite, we put you in jail. But we're also, committed to the Arab cause, anti-Zionism. That's great. But when you have a long history of anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism quickly becomes anti-Semitism. And that becomes a catch-all term for, going back to the economic problems of the late 70s, the regime's answer was pretty much, well, Zionists are why you don't have kielbasa. So great, Jews are why I can't eat kielbasa. They're hoarding it, I guess.
Wow. Well.
Wow.
Well.
I mean, okay, I'm going to say we could go on with this forever, I think. But let me recap the movie for the listeners who haven't picked up on exactly what's going on yet. I am going to say I'm going to divert from the end because I don't want to give it away because, hey, go watch the movie, folks. It's worth checking out. So
I will invoke what Marie has to say, but I will leave it vague as hell.
Okay.
Or as vague as humanly possible.
Okay. Are you going to do that now, or are you going to wait till after?
Well, I'll wait till Nick has to say.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Tell
right.
me one
I'm
thing.
gonna hit it,
The horse at the beginning, is it really dead? Did they find a dead horse somewhere?
Oh,
and use it?
I have no idea.
Okay, Mary, I'm gonna call it. There were a lot of dead animals in this movie, real dead animals.
Yeah.
Well,
now
that horse. I mean, they had the vulture on top, tearing it apart, but you could tell that was just red meat that they had stuck on top of the horse. So
maybe,
did they?
And maybe
I
don't know.
Visually, to me, it looked like somebody just took chunks of meat and kind of threw it on top of the horse.
Well, if a vulture's picking at the horse, it may be just what you saw, Mary.
Okay.
Okay, here's my reasoning for why I think it was a real dead horse.
Okay.
They didn't have a lot of money.
It's true.
To make a very realistic dead horse would be awfully damn expensive when you could probably go find a dead horse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw another rationale here. It is also martial law. You have to ask permission to get a liter of gasoline. So if you happen upon a dead animal, maybe use it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, think about this, Mary. They were probably out there looking to film this opening scene or just out there shooting what you call B-roll. Okay, so B-roll is when you're making a movie and it's set in New York City and you have all those transitions where it just shows the streets of New York or it shows Central Park, something like that. That's typical B-roll, okay? And so maybe they were out there just shooting some B-roll of the countryside. They came across this horse, and it's like, film it, And then when they edited it together, they said, that makes a really good bleak opening, and it kind of sums things up. I mean, you got this frozen countryside, and here's a dead horse with the credits coming up over it.
Yeah.
Now. And I will go ahead and cut to the chase on this. I don't think they hurt the dog, Mary.
Okay, I didn't think so. I thought they just
think they hurt
gave
the
it a
dog.
tranquilizer.
I think it was just a well-trained dog.
I thought they tranquilized it.
Well, it's possible they doped it up.
Yeah.
But I don't think they killed the dog because, come on.
Yeah.
Now, that's just, nobody's going to do that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so, anyway. Going to the film, so it opens up, like we said, here's frozen countryside and a dead horse, and we cut to our boy Casper, who is finally coming home from, I guess he's been out fighting in the revolution, whatever. They really don't define it for all of us who don't know the history of the region very well. But
even the film itself leaves it. Once you realize they're Austrians, it's like, okay. But it's vague because it's like, a film about revolution, but we really don't want you to do revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, especially when it's in the middle of martial law.
Yeah.
But so Casper, he comes home and he's all like, "Hey, I'm home." And there's doctor comes out and says, "Whoa," or no, it's his brother, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, you really maybe don't want to go in there because your wife's in there dying." And he's like, "What? Why is she dying?" And it's like, "Well, she's been kind of the town bicycle while you've been gone. And she got herself preggers and decided to give herself an abortion because why not?" And so, Casper's really having a rough time there when he gets home. It's like he comes home to see his wife and his brother, and he comes home just in time to see that his wife has been cheating on him. He walks into the room and the cross is gone because, oh yeah, not only has she been cheating on him with everybody in town, she's also been doing black magic, forsaking God, given up religion, sold her soul to the devil, and she's there dying, and she looks like, I don't know, half like a zombie there already. And she's just like, "I curse you, and I'll find you," and she's clutching this thing to her chest. And when he unwraps it after she's dead, it's a wolf's paw. And it's like, ooh, this is bad mojo. Well, Casper, he's got a barrier. So he gets his brother to help him, and he's taking her to the cemetery because I guess you do it yourself.
That looks so real.
He's like, "So did you get a priest?" And his brother's like, "No, man, none of the priests are going to come and do this ceremony because your wife was so well known recently for doing the black magic that none of the priests, even for money, will come out and say words over her grave." And he's like, "Oh, well, this kind of sucks." So they go to bury her, and they're like, "Okay, we got to open this up." And his brother, he's like, "Okay, you need to put this stake through her heart." And this is kind of the bit Matt was talking about where he kind of looks at his brother and goes, "Seriously?" And his brother's like, "Look, she's already cursed you. She's been dealing with the devil. Better safe than sorry, right?" So he whacks the stake home, and it's one of these things. Do what?
His brother's the one that did it.
Well, yeah, he wouldn't. That's why I meant. I'm sorry, his brother, but his brother wanted him to do it,
and he wouldn't.
And I'm gonna take it because, okay, we all know the staking through the heart did not stick, as it were, because she. Yeah.
What?
Does it work? But then do, in a very Polish way, do events that we cannot control, that are horrible, contrive to make it not work.
That's possible. And my thought was that it didn't work for him because she put the curse on him.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "I'll find you." And he wasn't the one that did the staking.
The first time I saw this film, that was my thought.
Mm-hmm.
But once I saw it with a better translation, and again, this goes back to the folk horror-ness of it, the ground and the grave is disturbed.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And it's disturbed. It's not disturbed by grave robbers. It's disturbed by a very Polish thing. It's disturbed by frickin' war.
Yeah.
The cemetery's blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in a mess. And, adding to that, there's not going to be a priest to consecrate it, and, the whole thing is just, it's very slapdash almost. And, he's like, "Well, since I don't really have a wife and a home anymore, I'm going to leave you, my brother, to take care of the house, and I'm going to go work for the Count." And
which, by the way, his brother, whose name is Mateusz, and who has a mustache, much like my mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, there were a whole lot of heavy stashes in this movie,
Yes.
I'm going to say. And,
that was
you know,
another Marie observation. She was just like, well, did all of Poland have your facial hair 100 years ago? And I was like, maybe.
maybe. You know, and there was a lot of heavy stash action, and there was a lot of fuzzy hats. Every type of furry hat.
Those of you who know me, I also rock that too.
Yes.
Granted.
And we would expect no less. So anyway, Casper, he goes to work for this count that he fought alongside during the insurrection. And so I guess this was when the Hussars were taken over and whatnot. And as he's, going to work for this guy, he sees a she-wolf and he's like, "What the devil? She's found me. What's going on here?" And he doesn't believe, but at the same time, he's starting to have all these visions. I mean, he's on the road and he's daydreaming, and all of a sudden there's his dead wife at the window of the carriage clawing at him to get in.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, was a pretty daggone creepy scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of the 1979 Salem's Lot when the little kid was floating outside the window, scratching on it to get in.
All of the scenes in the fog, in the night like that, and during the carriage ride, there's that level of creepiness that is unsettling.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
And, he's, at one point he sees a ghost like out in the field and it's coming towards him. And he's still, I guess Casper's trying to hang on to his reason or whatever. And he's just putting it down to an hallucination and, not sleeping well, too much vodka, who knows. But
I'm going to add, this is also in my notes. This film also exemplifies, and this goes back to your point, Mary. All of the male characters in this film are useless, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what is the Polish solution to complex problem?
I don't know.
Drink?
Drink is what I was going to say.
Yes, it's drink.
Really?
It's drink. For real, even when he goes to see the doctor to get the silver bullet, his first thing is, "Yo, you want wine?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought
You
everybody
got to have a
drank
little bit of
back then.
wine to, get your silver bullet action going. But so anyway, he finally gets to the Count's place, and the Count, I don't know, he just seems a little off to me, but he's there and he's got his wife.
You get a coward vibe from him.
Very much so, and
Yes.
that comes out big time a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes upstairs. He's got his wife, like the upstairs where she is at is sort of hidden behind a secret door in a bookcase.
I know. I want one of those.
Well,
I want to get a door behind the bookcase. That's cool.
Well, they make them, Mary. They're about $1,000.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, just saying. But he,
the
and he
question
goes
is,
upstairs.
You want the bookcase in the house with the chicken legs?
With what?
With the chicken legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be in your chicken leg house,
Yeah,
Mary.
Okay. I'm gonna have
There
to
you
find an
go.
architect.
So everybody has a dream. Mary's is a chicken leg house with secret bookcase doors. Got it.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, he goes upstairs to check on his wife, and his wife's there, like getting kind of loved on by her maid. And the wife is Julia. And what I didn't pick up on immediately was that Julia is played by the same actress that played Mary.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I did pick up on it after they started, and later on they do this thing where the pictures kind of transpose.
That's when I finally picked it up.
Yeah, so it's the same actress, and she's there with her giant smiling teeth. This lady, when she smiles, by the way, you see every tooth in her head.
Yes.
But that's what kind of makes it. There are moments that smile is terrifying.
Yeah, it's a creepy smile.
No, it's just,
Yeah, it's just super creepy. And she's there in her maid Hortense. It's obvious that they're having some kind of affair. And I was sitting there watching that. I was like, wow, I didn't expect this from a Polish werewolf movie. But
Exactly.
sure enough, the wife is actually talking about how bad the Count is in bed. And she's like, but don't worry, I've got Hortense to take care of me, baby. So you're okay. You go off and play Revolutionary or whatever and have fun. I'll be here with Hortense. It's like, oh, okay. So about that time, another guy shows up and he's like, hey, the Hussars are coming and they're looking for you, Count. And so, as Mary said, he's kind of a coward. So he immediately says, right, I'm leaving. And Casper, I'm going to put you in charge of my estate while I'm gone. Keep an eye on my wife. But you know what? I want you to come with me to the border because I need somebody, I guess, to keep an eye on me and protect me. And then you can go back to my wife. And yeah, and it's such a rushed scene, and they rush out and off they go. And his buddy's like, you should write a letter to your wife. It's like, she's right upstairs, dude. Just go tell her. Nah, he leaves that quick. He doesn't even tell her. He just takes off.
And that's that. This guy is useless.
Yeah.
So if you're looking from it from the larger metaphorical way, he's useless to the cause too. Like, this is the Polish nobility historically in a nutshell. And maybe this is why the film got past the censors, because it's like the real ruling class looks worse than our quote-unquote supposed hero. And they're the ones that got us in this mess. Then they want to enter the party, and then as soon as you hear Hussar is showing up, you bounce.
Yeah, bounce hard too.
Yeah. And you leave the lower noble to die in your place.
Yeah, take care of the house while the Hussars are there. It's like, oh, okay.
I'm going to leave. Make sure all my good stuff is fully secured.
Yeah, protect everything, including my wife. So, yeah, how's that working out for you there, Count? But anyway, so the Count, he takes off and Casper goes with him. And as they're crossing the countryside, they get to the inn, and that's when they find the innkeeper hung. And, the first thing he's like, looks like the Hussars got here first. And he's like, oh, okay. So finally, the Count sends Casper back. And the Count sends Casper back. Casper gets there. The Hussars have already arrived and kind of set up camp in the courtyard of the Count's estate. And, you would think that Julia, the wife, might be a little upset that these invaders have come into the home. Quite the contrary, because she recognizes the officer. And apparently he and Julia had a relationship, I guess, before the Count married her. And
back in
Warsaw, it was obvious that they have feelings for each other, and that kind of rekindles a lot. And, they're pretty much all over each other, actually. And she makes no secret of it. It's like Casper shows up and he's got this letter from the Count. And he's like, I must give this to her. And he walks in, and there she is, just letting this, this officer kind of rub on her back. And it's obvious that they are very intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I guess I'd better just pretend I didn't see this. And so he comes and he kind of closes the door, and then he knocks on the door. And then comes in, and they're standing a couple of feet apart, like, oh, nothing's happened. Oh, okay, we really believe that. So he hands her the letter, and she doesn't even look at it. She's just like, whatever. By the way, have you met this German officer? I really like him. It's like, oh, okay.
And there's the hints that, if you didn't recognize the actress, the hints that this is the same woman is when she starts, like, literally berating him.
Yeah.
For everything he does.
Yeah, she's laying into him, and she really takes a dislike to Casper, might be the best way to put it. And what we're starting to see here is, remember, Mary had cast this curse that she was going to follow him and going to curse him and going to get him. Well, here's this doppelganger of Mary who's just teasing him and being, just awful to him. And, she's also not a very good person. She, as the movie progresses, she starts being more and more evil. And even, like Hortense, her maid, who was obviously her lover. Okay, it couldn't have been more obvious if they put Vaseline on the camera and made it a softcore 70s flick. But, the maid and her had a thing going. Minute this German officer shows up, she's like, yeah, I don't need you anymore. I've got this guy, and he's going to take care of me, so you can take off, Hortense. And that's like, whoa, that's pretty cold. But, and Casper keeps having all these visions, and there's all these signs, and you've got like the ghosts, and you've got he keeps seeing a wolf, and you keep hearing all these wolves crying, and all this big stuff. And at one point, his dog goes running off, and he finds his dog, and his dog's just been brutalized by something, which we assume is this wolf that they describe as being as no ordinary wolf. It's as big as a calf, which, that'd be a pretty daggone big wolf. And, it just keeps plaguing Casper. And at one point, he actually shoots the wolf and clips it in the foot. And he's following the trail of blood through the snow. And all of a sudden, he comes upon Julia. And she's just there on a horse, but her hand is wrapped up because it's just been freshly wounded. And even then, she's kind of teasing him about it.
That's with the sick smile.
Yeah, with that sick smile, she is just all up in his business. And it finally, Casper's reached the point that he's like, okay, this is just, there's something supernatural going on. I'm gonna go see the doctor. And this is the doctor that was, treating his wife, Mary, before she died. And the doctor's just like, yeah, you probably need a silver bullet to shoot her. And so they're going to make a silver bullet. Of course, they're drinking too. But then he's got this photo of Mary, his wife. But when he turns it a certain way, he realizes that it's also Julia, the Count's wife. And it keeps going back and forth. And the doctor's like, okay, well, we're going to do this. And he gets this ice pick, and he puts a cover over the picture, and he hammers the ice pick into it. And at that moment, Julia is struck by a massive pain in her chest and actually is taken to her bed. And blood comes out of the freaking photo. Mm-hmm. And, the doctor's just like, yeah, you better burn that and don't look at it. And so Casper does that. And at this point, you've got this situation where you've got all these hussars in the house. You got the one that's banging Julia, and then you got Julia who is being evil, and you got Casper who's not sure what's going on, but he's got him a silver bullet now. So I'm not going to say how this ends, but let's just say there's a whole lot of resolution that comes around in this. Yeah. So, and by the way, Casper totally becomes an action hero there at the very end.
Okay. So, the first time I showed this movie to Marie, must have been a year ago, she encapsulated the end of this film, and I'm not going to tell you how it ends.
Okay.
But Nick, you said action hero. So, what I have down in my notes is finale, Polish Rambo. Moral of the story, F Germans, F werewolves, God bless Poland. And that really is it.
God love it. That sums it up.
And Poland, Poland
Yeah.
has survived.
Poland shall not. We have not yet finished.
Yes.
And good for Poland. No, seriously. But okay. And guys, you know what? We have spent a long time talking about this movie, and I'm not sure if anybody knows what we've been talking about.
Know.
I just recommend you go check out the movie.
I mean, you have to, because those scenes, like when he's in the carriage and the Count's fleeing and they're going to the border, those scenes in that carriage with that snow and the wind, and they're really great scenes. They are so atmospheric. I literally texted these two guys and said, my house is cold anyway, because we had a cold spell that, we'd had 80-degree days and suddenly we were getting like freezing nights. So my heat was on. I'm freezing in my house and I'm watching this movie and I'm like shivering because those scenes are so good. You feel cold just watching it.
I go back to what I said earlier. If you enjoy the look, the feel of European Gothic horror from the mid-50s to the early 70s, but you want something that is slightly different and is gonna, and hopefully we helped you, we gave you a context here, is gonna make you work a little bit.
Yeah.
This is that movie.
Yeah. I do have one question.
Sure.
There were the scenes like when he was burying his wife, it's like something thawed. I mean, most of the movie is really icy. Like the snow is blowing, it's icy wind, but there's the couple scenes where everything's wet. Like the cart's going through mushy snow and stuff. And then the first scenes when you get to the Count's house, that looked like somebody put foam on the ground. That didn't look like snow to me. Did it look like snow to you?
It's
It
been
really
a
pushed.
while since I closely examined this. It's quite possible that they did those scenes at different times.
Okay. Because that bothered me. It's like I was really getting the feel of that snow and that coldness, and then I saw like foam or whatever they used for.
It's also possible too, because it's like assume that like the events. It's assumed that kind of revolution ends, he's home, wife dead.
There could have
winter.
been a big time lapse.
There's been a thaw, and then the occupation proper happens.
That could be, yeah.
Or so.
Okay.
Well,
yes.
I'm going to say wait and watch it on a hot summer day then, because it'll apparently make you feel cold.
It did to me.
It did Mary anyway.
It really did. The photography was really great in it. Some of the shots were just fantastic.
No, it was definitely a good film and definitely worth checking out.
Yep.
All right. So I think we beat this werewolf to death. We got any feedback, Mary?
But has this werewolf vanished?
Ah, that's the question.
Oh. Okay. And was it a werewolf movie or a vampire movie or a witch movie or an evil spirit movie?
I'm going to say it was a folk horror movie.
Yeah, see, I prefer the large bracket of folk horror.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We like to shove movies into categories.
Yeah.
So if you had to shove this into one category for, say, your description on Shudder, werewolf movie might fit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go with that. Plus, with the title being, like the she-wolf, whatever, that kind of adds up. But ultimately, I think it was much more about just the entire kind of folk horror, folk mythos culture that was going on there.
Yeah.
And once you enter Eastern Europe, I mean, the border between werewolves, vampires, what the wolf symbolizes gets murky as hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mary.
Yes. I do have
Let's
feedback.
unmurky things and do the feedback.
Okay. We have a short email from Philip Pine says, I'm Dr. Moreau, 1996. I don't think I've seen this movie. It looks so awful, I probably should watch it. Take care, Phil.
Yes, you should.
That's a good motto.
Yeah.
It looks so awful, I probably should watch it.
Yes, you should.
And drink heavily while doing so.
Nelson De La Rosa. I'm sorry, I haven't thought of that name in almost like 20 years. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so next one's from Nicholas Stumpf. Says, I just saw the sad news that Rico Browning passed away. I remember you mentioning a few years back that he was looking to be cheered up by having letters sent to him. I hope that you got a lot of them and enjoyed them. Can you talk a little bit about Rico on the next podcast? Thank you. I hope you're doing well. So thank you for this email, Nick. And I don't know what to say. That shocked me when I heard that. And it really shocked me they didn't say anything about him on the awards show, on the Oscar show.
Okay,
there were
Mary.
so many people they left out that died that should have been at least mentioned.
They left out a lot of people, Mary, and I'm going to say the people listening to the B Movie Cast know who Rico Browning is. They know how important he was to cinema history.
Yeah.
The folks doing the Oscars, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't a major star.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he was, and I'm saying from their perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
At the end of the day, he was a B movie actor who did Flipper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the reality is that he was the last surviving Universal monster.
I know.
You know, he was he pioneered a lot of underwater stunt work. I mean, hell, he did all the underwater camera work for Thunderball, for goodness sakes.
Did he really?
So, and of course he created Flipper.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a whole lot to be said about Rico Browning, and I think that maybe we look at doing something about him in our next cast. But there's just not, I mean, it's like you said, it's hard to think what to say about him now.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Next cast.
All right.
This next one's from Christopher Page. It says, Nick is taking it easy on us here today. That would be Marlon Brando and his mini-me in the film mentioned repeatedly in your last episode, The Island of Dr. Moreau from 1996. One of the reasons Val Kilmer didn't carry on as Batman after Batman Forever. He was scheduled to do The Saint, and he wanted to work on Moreau just to get a chance to work with Brando. As I understand it, it was a case of never meet your heroes. I don't think anybody really enjoyed themselves on that set, other than maybe a few of the minor crew members that must have some incredible stories to tell. What was the name of that you were telling us about, Nick?
It was Lost Souls.
Lost Souls, okay.
Yeah, I want to say that was it.
Okay. Okay, Chris goes on to say, I caught Island of the Fishermen prior to listening to your episode on it. I was impressed with the film. It isn't necessarily a great film, but the level of production was impressive. The fishermen were some of the best I've seen. They looked really good in and out of the water. I agree. They did. They really did. Richard Johnson is an actor that I hate seeing kind of slumming in these sort of things. He was fantastic as the scientist in charge of the paranormal investigation of The Haunting in 1963. I don't think I saw that one. At that time, he seemed like an actor that was going to go on to great things, and maybe he did off-screen and in smaller pictures, but he never hit the height that he seemed capable of. Hope everyone in the B-Movie Clubhouse is doing well. My best to everyone, and hope to see you all in person sooner rather than later. And that was from Christopher Page.
Cool. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I enjoy hearing from him. And this next one is, let's see if I can pull it up here. It is a voicemail from Stan. Stan Ward from, what is it, the creepy hills of North Doylestown? Is that what?
Doylestown, like outside.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's real close to you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Hey, B Movie Cast family. Stan here from the creepy hills north of Doylestown checking in. I got a little bit behind on my B Movie Cast listening over the holidays. I just got caught up thanks to a honeydew list that I just completed for my wife, and it was a lot of fun. The B Movie Cast made it go fast. And somebody had said in a prior episode feedback about how good the quality of the B Movie Cast is, and it really is. After 500 plus episodes, the enthusiasm and the professionalism is still there, and we all really appreciate it because, you know, you watch old TV shows and things like that, and after a while they start to get old and tired, and you can see it in the later episodes of the TV show. But after 500 episodes, you guys are still going strong. Really, really appreciate it.
Wow. Thank you.
Another thing going on up here in the creepy hills north of Doylestown is Apple Movies is filming some kind of a series up here, and my wife was working at the restaurant that she's at, and believe it or not, in walks Ridley Scott,
so
cool. The director of Gladiator and Blade Runner and all those other things, and just an amazing thing that's happening up here in the creepy hills north of Doylestown. Anyway, wow. I just wanted to say hello to everyone, and always remember and never forget Czar does and Xana don't.
I agree, Xana don't.
Hey. I thought it was funny, but let's not go too crazy.
Oh, okay. I want to know more about that series that Ridley Scott's doing up there.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, Matt, find out what the series is that Ridley Scott is filming.
I'll my best.
North of Doylestown. Take a road trip up there and find it. Okay, this next one is from Michael Travis, and he said that would be The Island of Dr. Moreau, 1996. What did poor Mary do in a former life to be reincarnated into the life of bleached Marlon Brando and his little helper? Hope you guys are well. This is Michael from Wilmington, North Carolina, and he won prize today.
Awesome.
Yes, and the last one is from Santito. Says Nick is slumming with these. Second time in a row, I knew it from my 59-year-old brain power. Island of Dr. Moreau, 1996, happens to be based on the same book Last Contest movie was based on.
Hey, I'm slumming.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. I believe you. That's it. We're done. All done. Everybody go have a drink now.
Indeed.
All
right. Well,
thank you, Matt.
Thank you for coming on. And as usual, I walk away from a podcast with Matt with a greater understanding of how stuff works in Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah,
it's always fun to have you on, man. And, we keep finding us these weird little Eastern European flicks.
I want to do Pyrox. How do you say that?
Yeah, or Lokis. I mean, that's another one which the Shutter crowd should have.
Which one? Pyrox?
I'm not sure about Pyrox. Lokis?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, werebear action.
Okay. Let me see if we can get a hold of those. We just have to find out what your schedule is, Matt.
Well,
busy with your classrooms.
There are classrooms, there are things, but by the end of May, my life should say be my own, but it's going to be a lot less cluttered.
Yes.
Just say that.
Yes. It's March, right?
Well, all right, guys. Well, I think let's wrap her up.
Yep.
And it was good talking to y'all.
Yep. See you on the other side.
Peace out.
Bye.
All right. Peace out, folks.
Adios, Mafia.
Well, they've gone.
For good, John?
No, just for now. It wasn't the right time for us to meet. But there'll be other nights, other stars for us to watch. They'll be back.
The ghosts are moving tonight, restless, hungry.
All right, fellas, here's your story.
Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
Wait, Captain. I have found evidence of intelligent beings on this planet.
Look to the skies, it's the B-Movie Cookbook. Menus inspired by 15 of your favorite B-movies from the 1950s, with teenage werewolves, blobs, and enough cheese for everyone.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
But until then, we've got Ed Wood and Vincent Price.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
So impress your friends with dinner and a movie with the B-Movie Cookbook. We've got you covered. Get your copy today at bmoviecookbook.com. That's bmoviecookbook.com.
Let me see that book. I am interested to see what sways your mind so heavily.
Sure thing, just visit bmoviecookbook.com.
Anybody around here want some coffee?
Transmission.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s.